Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel. We're back with yet another live stream because Manchester United have another fixture. And I'll tell you what we got today more than anything. Another opportunity. Of course, Bournemouth at home. It's a very difficult game. Bournemouth coming to Old Trafford has been a bit of a problem in recent years. However, the results this weekend, not so much on Saturday, but yesterday there were some results that arguably went our way. We saw both Newcastle and Spurs dropping points and also Crystal Palace. Which means, should Manchester United get all 3 points tonight, we would find ourselves in 5th after 16 game weeks. Which honestly is not too bad. I think it's roughly where we want to be. It's the target that we set at the start of the season to be in and around the top 5. So should United win tonight, performance, of course, we can talk about things, but in terms of points tally, we would be on track for exactly what we want, which would be lovely. The question is, how do we do it? That's our job for today, to figure out how Manchester United can line up against this Bournemouth team, how we can set up against this Bournemouth team, how we can play against Bournemouth to make sure that we get all 3 points. It's a tricky game, but I've got a quiet confidence about me today. I feel kind of good about United today. I think we might go and sneak a win here. But I am going to need your help for us to get to that point. So, how are we? How are we all? How are we feeling? How are we feeling about United? How are we feeling? 15th of December, we're getting closer to Christmas and the new year. How is life? How are Manchester United treating you? A little bit of everything. Let me know in the chat how you guys are doing. It is great to see you guys as always, especially David. It's always great to see David because he's always here gifting memberships to our amazing community. David, thank you so much as always for your just sheer legendary behaviour. Hope you are well, my friend. Hope you are well. I'd like to try and have a catch-up with some of you guys on Discord before Christmas, if possible. We've also got Adele in the chat with the 5 gifted memberships as well. What a start to the stream. 6 gifted memberships. Bam. Just like that on your head tops. Thank you both very, very much for your support. As always, you guys are legends. We ain't sneaking a win. We are outright taking it. I would love that. Whoa. I'd love us to take a win. I'd love us to take a win. Recently, the recent history against Bournemouth isn't so fantastic, to be honest. Yeah, it's not great at all, to be honest. In the past 2 seasons, we've drawn twice away from home, and we've lost 3-0 twice at home. Both of those games being in December as well. So the sort of recent history isn't great. But what we've been speaking about recently with United and the way that we play and what maybe suits us and all of those sorts of things is teams that give us a bit of space sort of suit United a little bit more. You know, teams that park the bus and get loads of players behind the ball and sit in their box are difficult for United to break down. We struggle in those games. But teams that want to try and press, teams that want to try and jump, teams that leave that little bit of space in behind are often teams that we can exploit a little bit, which is why I think United have an opportunity tonight. Now, of course, there is going to be a lot riding on whether or not we've got these guys. Because unless you guys have seen something different to me this morning, I don't know. As far as I'm aware, we don't know if we've got them or not. It seems as though the club is keeping it top secret, which I respect. They absolutely should do that. Why let Bournemouth know what we're doing? But for us as fans, it's difficult to know what to expect. If we think Bournemouth are going to play a high line, having Mbeumo would be amazing. Suddenly, if we don't have him, it's a little bit more questionable and a little bit more concerning. We got Beef in the chat with a super chat. Thank you very much. Your stream time is for the unemployed. I'm here with no sound, sitting in class, trying to lip read like an idiot. What can I say to Beef right now for him to try and lip read? Actually, I probably shouldn't. But Beef, thank you very much for the super chat, and I do apologise for the time of the stream. Just prioritise the AJ Analysis channel over uni, right? It's not difficult. It's what everyone else here does. Needs to get his priorities sorted. But thank you very much for the super chat, as always, my friend. Not that you can hear me saying this. Life is awesome. United could be making it better. I believe in the manager. Believe. You know what? I like that. I like that. But I've got my girlfriend hooked on United now, and now she finally understands the pain. You must hate your girlfriend if you're making her watch United. What have you done? You cruel, cruel man. 5 a.m. kickoff again. Eesh. Nasty. Nasty, nasty, nasty. The least we can do is produce a performance. But it's not easy. Bournemouth are a tricky old outfit. This table is passes per defensive action, PPDA. The lower the number, the better, or the more aggressively a team presses, right? PPDA, passes per defensive action. So if the number is really high, that means a team is able to play a load of passes before being interrupted by the opposition tackling them. So because Bournemouth's number is low, what it basically means is, let me get this right, the opposition don't tend to complete many passes before Bournemouth come in with a defensive action. And normally that points to a team being quite aggressive in the way that they are pressing, and we know that with Bournemouth and Iraola. We know the way that they play. They like to jump really high up the pitch, which is going to be a challenge for United in this game, because we're not amazing in the first phase. It'll be interesting to see if we're a team that's going to go long over the top to try and avoid that pressure, or if we are going to try and be bold and play our way through. In terms of how Bournemouth are likely to press, they sort of shape up in a few different ways, but something they quite like to do is shift into a bit of a diamond shape, which is quite interesting. So one of the wide players, let me get this right, one of the wide players might come in here, for example, or might join the front two, and then we see the other wide player, often Semenyo, sort of comes into midfield. Hang on. Have I got this right? Yeah, and they can shift to a diamond that way. The other way they can shift to the diamond is if Kluivert was to jump, Tavernier was to jump, and they go like that. They often, one way or another, like to try and find their way into a diamond, and they're not man-to-man with their pressure. They sort of start zonal and then jump man-to-man. I'm really intrigued to see whether United try and play through that or go over. Really, really intrigued. I think if we were away from home, I'd probably just expect us to play the long ball because it'd be easier. But I think at home, Amorim said this recently, at Old Trafford there is an expectation for United to get on the front foot and sort of take charge of a game. So, are we going to see United trying to play through, particularly if we don't have Šeško, which I don't think we do. And if we do, he's not fully fit, is he? He's not going to be match sharp just yet, so he's probably not going to start. If we don't have Šeško, we don't really have that long ball, so we might have to try and find a way to play through. So the question is, what sort of players can help us do that, and also how can we exploit that? That is going to be over to you guys. Of course, Lomans is going to be in goal, but from there, there's a lot of conversations that we need to have. Oh, David's got quite a good idea for phase one, actually. So we've got two different ideas here for phase one. So Steve says we could just go long and hit the 9, which I think is a good shout. But David's got a better shout. In phase one, we should just hit the like button. I mean, that seems pretty effective to me. That seems like a good idea. Did I miss a super chat? I did. No matter the result today, hopefully a W. It's the first game in 3 months I watched with my wife. She was away travelling and I am excited to rejoice. That sounds absolutely lovely, mate. I hope for you that we get a win that you can celebrate together. But that's what football's all about, right? Bringing people together. We love to see that. Thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. I have a theory. United haven't confirmed our AFCON player availability because they won't be available. If that is the case, I do think it is incredibly unfair that scheduling has taken away 3 starters. I agree with that point. I don't know if they're going to be here or not. If they're not, I think we've been done over. To be honest. How? Who? What? Who made the decision that for the scheduling, one club, if we don't have our players, one club has a whole extra game week affected by AFCON? Who put us on the Monday night game? Why have they done that? I know we're like the only relevant team in the league that people will actually go out of their way to watch on a Monday night. But it does seem a little bit unfair if we don't have them. I will say that much. I don't like to cry and blame things, but it does seem a little bit harsh when everyone else had their players all weekend. I think it's a little bit harsh. The key tonight will be runs in behind. We need to play that rather than slow build-up. Yes, particularly with the Bournemouth high line. And again, that's why we could really use Mbumo today in particular. Now, I think what we need to do today for our starting 11 is go through a starting 11 with our AFCON players. So assuming Mazraoui, Ahmad and Mbumo are all fit and available. And then after that, we'll go through another 11 without them. So we can sort of play both sides and sort of cover both really. AJ, what are your thoughts on Alex Scott and would you take him at United? He's a really good player. I've not watched loads of him. He was very highly rated when he was playing in the Championship. He was a good player then. I've seen him most for the England under-21s is actually where I've seen him playing the most. He was really good in the summer alongside Elliot Anderson. They had a really nice duo. So yeah, I quite like him, but I'd need to watch more before saying whether or not I'd like him at United. But from what I've seen, yeah, he's my sort of player. I like how he sort of carries himself on the pitch. It's good. What's my score prediction today? We will get to that towards the end. Again, we might have to do a with the boys and without the boys score prediction towards the end. We've got more gifted memberships. You guys are just generous. Super, super generous. Alex is the god with 5 gifted memberships. Alex, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your generosity, my friend. That is super kind. Guys, If you got a gifted, make sure to say thank you. And if you didn't, I heard if you say thank you and like the stream, you're more likely to get the next gifted. Apparently. Try it out. Try it out. I'm preparing for the worst that we don't have them. Then if they are available, I will be pleasantly surprised. The age-old trick. Set yourself, just be ready for failure, then anything else is a positive. I like it. Right. Let's get into the 11. What we're going to do is assume we've got them. These fellas, we're going to assume that we've got them. And that's going to be our first 11. Then we'll make an 11 without them. So we need to be a little bit quicker today than what we perhaps normally are. Although I do have a little bit of time if you want to go longer. That's also fine. So that's the plan. Let's have a look. Lomans in goal. Easy. Very, very easy. Back three. With everyone available. Now, De Ligt seems to still be injured to me. I haven't seen him featured in training yet. I don't know if anyone has any news on that. Anything they can give me. But I believe he's not available, which isn't great for United because we're also without Harry Maguire. So sort of our two most senior centre-backs are missing, which means in terms of options, we've got Lenny Yoro, we've got Luke Shaw. Yoro, by the way, I should say, could play either side. We've got Aiden Heaven, who could play middle or left. Let's put Yoro over here. We've got Mazraoui, who can play right or left. I prefer him on the right, especially this season. And we've got Lisandro Martinez, who normally is a left-sided centre-back, but did recently come on and play in the middle, which I found quite interesting. Why did we do that? Was it just because of who we had on the pitch at the time sort of forced us into doing that? Or was it something that Amorim wanted to see? Does he actually potentially want to play him? I think Amorim confirmed that De Ligt will be out. Well, there we go then. It's these guys. Is Lisandro Martinez ready? Is he ready for a start? Is he ready for a start? The other thing we need to consider, David has mentioned it there, about giving Shaw a rest. Played a lot of minutes this season. What was the stat the other day? Like 3 times the amount of minutes he played last year? Certainly close to that. After 190, I think he will be. Do we need to protect him? Do we need to protect him? I'm not sure. You see, weirdly, there's a lot of games at the moment, but because we finished 15th last year, and we went out the Carabao Cup very early this year, and the FA Cup doesn't start yet till January for us. Like, sure, there's a lot of games, but they're not coming that quickly. Like, we last played last Monday, we play tonight, which is Monday, and then we play again Sunday, which isn't really that big a deal. And then after that, I want to say it's a Thursday game, and then maybe a Sunday again or something like that. So we're not really playing that regularly still. So I think he might be fine. He feels like someone we need to protect and look after and wrap up in cotton wool. But I sort of get the feeling he might just be alright. Like, yeah, he's left centre-back, so he's not doing those sprints up and down the pitch all day long. We're playing once a week. He's probably okay. He's probably okay. Steve, that's the first thing I put in WhatsApp when I saw the FA Cup draw. We could be looking at a 40-game season, which is crazy. It's not okay, by the way. I think we'll beat Brighton in the FA Cup, but it's a little bit worrying. So I think for me, I think I'd like to go Shaw, but I'm trying to think, when do we bring Lisandro Martinez back in? Because Shaw's playing well, so it's going to be difficult to drop him at any point. When do we actually get him back into that team? Shaw, Martinez and Mazraoui worries me greatly on height. We are already bad at defending set pieces. Yeah, and I think I would be surprised if we saw that back three together. I would be very surprised if we saw that, simply because there is such a focus on set pieces in the Premier League, and it's something that Amorim talks about a lot. I don't know if you guys have picked up on this, but anytime we get a interview or a press conference a couple of days before a game, he always mentions the opposition are good on set pieces. Like, he's learned that the set pieces are so important in English football. So I would be surprised to see those three. I'd be surprised by that. I think we might just see, I think it might be that again, with maybe both Yoro and Licha coming on. I understand that point, but just don't want to risk him personally. Yeah, see, this is the weird thing with Shaw. Like, I think if it was a normal player, you'd look at the fixture list and say you don't need to rest him. It's once a week, it's fine. But Shaw's fitness record isn't that of a normal player. So I do agree, it's a weird one. And also, how do you get Licher into the team? I think if it was me, I'd maybe play Shaw for an hour and then bring Lisandro Martinez on for him. Give Licher that another half an hour and then go from there. Is there any confirmation that Mazraoui is available? There is not currently. We're going to do 2 11s. We're going to do with them, without them, is basically our plan for today. We need our star boys, if we can have them. So we're going to do a with and without. But good morning to you, Alex. I hope you're well, my friend. Lovely to see you. If he isn't, then will he start both Yoro and Heaven? We haven't seen that yet. That's a very good point. That would be a very inexperienced back three, but it's probably our only other option. Unless, would he consider at that point, say if, you know what, we'll come back to it later. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll come back to it. Let's for now imagine Mazraoui is fit. Let's fly through the 11, and then we'll come back to they're not available 11. We'll do that for now. I think if Mazraoui, Ahmad, and Mbeumo are available, I think it will be this again. Amorim doesn't seem too keen on rotating the back three too much. In-game, it's a little bit different with substitutes and things like that. But from the start, he doesn't seem too keen on rotating this, which, you know, I agree with. I stand by that. I think that's a good thing. I guess the one question would be, would you start Yoro for tactical reasons? That extra bit of height? You know, there's an interesting battle here against Semenyo. I think Bournemouth are a very good side. I think they're a well-balanced side. They've got a lot of threat all over the pitch. They're sort of... Bournemouth are sort of my team outside of United in the Premier League, only because the signings they make are constantly signings that I go, I think he might make it in the Premier League one day. And then they do. They seem to keep picking those players up. Like, Scott was someone that we spoke about. We've recommended Diakite for United before. We've recommended Truffer years ago for United. Semenyo, obviously. Evan Nilsson was one of the first ever scouting for United videos that we did, was Evan Nilsson to United. So I quite like the Bournemouth squad because they've got a lot of players that I like. But Semenyo is clearly the danger man. Is there a conversation here for Mazraoui right wing back, Yoro right centre back to double up here? Because he sort of singled Semenyo out in the press conference as danger man, be scared of him. He's very good, very two-footed, very quick, powerful, skillful, can score goals. Is there a chance it's Yoro and Mazraoui down this side? Now, I don't know sort of what the knock-on effect on the rest of the team would be. You know, is there a world where Ahmad goes and plays left wing back? I don't know. But I just got a feeling he might play it safe because of Semenyo. Because he's a good player, right? He's a very good player. He's someone that sort of does warrant the treatment of defenders near him. Ahmad at wing back would be, you know, I love the idea of United getting on the front foot, playing to our strengths, Ahmad being high. I'd love all of that stuff. But we also have to acknowledge that we can't do that for 90 minutes. Right? United are far, 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 far from perfect. So there are moments where we have to suffer, we have to defend deep. I would be a little bit worried about Semenyo up against Ahmad. Be a little bit worried about that. If we were a team that could really dominate the ball and sort of control a game, I would be like, let's get at them. Because we have to accept at some point we will go under and Bournemouth will have a spell on top. I fear that in those moments, Semenyo against Ahmad could be a bit of a mismatch. I'm a little bit scared of it. And, you know, I'm someone who wants to be on the front foot, but I'm a little bit scared of this. Play that out for a sec. Then can Shaw push up and attack from left centre-back? Heaven shifts to left centre-back in a 3-2 build-up, and Yoro middle centre-back. That would be a really, like, intriguing way of building up in a different way. Alex, I really like that. That's a very different way of ending up with the same build-up shape, but achieving it very differently. Because normally we sort of swing the back three. Swinging a wing back deep, honestly, is not something I've even considered since Amorim's been at the club. Not in that phase of play. But actually, it ends up with players in really nice positions. And it's weird, right? Because if you were playing a back four, and, you know, it's just how we look at things, you would absolutely consider this as an option. That would be quite a fun back three as well. Sort of on the ball for the build-up. It gets Yoro into a better position, I think. That is quite a fun idea. Yeah, of course, only if Mazraoui is wing-back. I mean, maybe if Dalot was as well, it could potentially work. I also think Mazraoui or Yoro both have the ability to hold down a single player, especially if they are able to swap after 60. Yeah, you know what? Let's be bold. Let's play on the front foot. Let's go Ahmad at wing back. Let's be attacking. This is potentially the last game for a while with Ahmad and Mbumo. So use them while we can, I think. Other weeks we've seen Mbumo and Ahmad going into forward positions, but I think with Mount and Cunha, Mount in form, that would be a little bit harsh as well. Something, I wouldn't be surprised if the lineup comes out with fullbacks at wing back. I'll say that much. I wouldn't be surprised. But anyway, let's play it out like this then. Are we all sort of on the Dalot boat at the moment at left wing back? It just feels a bit of a better option than Patrick Dorgu. I feel a little bit sorry for Dorgu. I don't know that he's done anything massively wrong, but I sort of weigh up the two of them, and I think Dalot just gives us a little bit more at the moment. Sure, Dorgu gives us that left foot and the ability to draw fouls and free kicks. I think that's good. But I think Dalot sort of combines with everyone else around him a little bit better, particularly if we're talking Mount left 10, for example. I just think Dalot gets more out of them. I've liked the left-sided dynamic recently for the first time in a long time. So I think we're sort of on this bus, right? Hello, mate, watching from a bus from Zimbabwe. Well, good morning to you. I hope you're well, and I hope you're enjoying the stream. I hope you're going somewhere interesting on the bus as well. Agreed, Mount has to start. Yeah, that's why I don't think the rest of it sort of quite lines up if we go Mazraoui wing back, right? Because then where'd you put Ahmad and Mbumo? So yeah, I like this. I like these guys. I like this trio. And obviously that sort of means Bruno Fernandes with them as well. Now, again, that means we're a Kobe-less 11. If I speak, I'm in trouble. Okay? We've got to be realistic as to what Amorim actually has a chance of picking in this game. He's not going to pick Kobe Mainoo. So it's going to be these guys, right? I don't think Sesko would start. I mean, there's an opportunity maybe to go Cunha and Xerxes up front. That's something that we could do as well. I haven't got the quote, but Amorim did say when he was talking about Mount, he said, great player, very intelligent player, sort of sets the standard and all of that stuff. But he did say Mount understands he can't play all the time. He understands sometimes he has to be on the bench. And he also did make a comment about needing to protect Mount physically. Now, again, we're playing once a week, so it's probably fine. He's probably fine to play again, Mount. But again, it is something that we have to consider, because with Mbumo and Ahmad about to go, we can't lose Mount as well. Like, that would really leave us light in attacking positions. So we do have to look after our players. Our front three needs pace. Needs to be pacey to drain the defenders. I think we're definitely looking for runners. I don't know that it has to be pure speed, but I definitely think we need runners. Yeah, we'll come back to a 11 without Mazraoui and Mbumo and Ahmad a little bit later on. We're going to do a with them 11 and then a without them 11. Because they're very, very different teams. Very different teams. Dorgu is still young. He'll keep improving. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not concerned about Dorgu. I just think at this moment in time, Dalot sort of brings us a little bit more. I don't even know if I want to read out this Steve comment. I'm glad he's getting a bit of love, but with Diogo, we need to accept the lows and the highs. I don't know how he does it. He's relentless. He is relentless. But yeah, I think Dalot has genuinely been good recently, and I'm pleased with him and also with Amorim, right? I'm quite critical of Ruben Amorim. I think we know my stance on him. But I think he deserves credit for the adaptation that he has made down the left. It's about a month ago. He made a comment. It was the game where Dorgu got subbed for Dalot or vice versa. I can't quite remember which way around it was. And he made the comment about, we sort of lack a profile on that side. And I was like, we do. I agree with you. We need an Ahmad on the left. But whilst we don't have it, as a manager, your job is to find a different solution. And for a while, he didn't do that. For a while, Dalot at left wing back was actually a weakness in our system. He was defensively hurting us and on the ball not bringing enough. But I think credit to Dalot for turning that around, and also credit to Amorim, because I think he has tried something different down the left recently. With Mount in front especially, that ability to interchange, I think, has helped us. And, I think both deserve credit for that, Amorim and Dalot, because we have looked better with a more rotational left side. We're not seeing a wing-back just stood there, getting into the same position time and time again and failing. We've tried something different, and I've enjoyed that. That's all I ask for. Trying different ideas if something isn't working. So I've been pleased with that. Look at Steve with the 5 gifted memberships. That is how you know we are talking about Diogo Dalot. I might have to praise Dalot more often. Steve, thank you very much for the membership. Guys, you know what to do. If you got gifted one, make sure to say thank you. And make sure to praise Diogo Dalot while you're at it as well. Steve, thank you very much, mate. Do appreciate that. Quality, love that. Imagine the balance of being tactical and pacey, replicating the Wolves vibes will make it clinical. Yeah, I think we've got to try and build on what we saw against Wolves. I don't think the Wolves' performance was perfect. I think particularly that first half it had flaws, right? I think we played okay in the first half, but nothing more than that. And against 20th in the league, that was concerning. But I think in the second half, they sort of opened up and we found our way through. And like I said, I think this game can suit us. I think there will be those spaces. So I think interchanging could be the way. You know, I would probably, if it was me, be looking at that left side if we're playing Amorim's system with his ideas, which means Casemiro next to Bruno, and then it's Mbumo in the right 10, right? Is that sort of what we're looking at here? It's the who is wide and who underlaps problem. Dalot and Mount have started to solve it. Yeah, they sort of both do both, and they seem to have a better understanding than Mbumo and Ahmad do currently. And I guess that makes, in some ways it's confusing as to why that would be. How come Dalot and Mount can figure it out, but Mbumo and Ahmad can't? But again, when you think about the profiles of player, Ahmad and Mbumo both want to be goal getters, whereas Dalot sort of knows he's a fullback, and Mount has always been that selfless player to make those runs. So I think it really works. I think also Mount has done a very nice job of freeing Bruno a bit more recently. We know he starts almost as a double 6, maybe a double 8. But there have been times on the ball where he's allowed to make runs past or just float in between. And I think Mount has sort of made that possible. I think he's made that possible. Wolves scored against Arsenal at the Emirates. Yeah, I mean, we smashed that Wolves super team. Let's remember that. Of course, I think we have to apply some context with the whole Wolves situation. Wolves played in a very different way against Arsenal to what they did against United. At home, Wolves opened up, they pressed, they tried to squeeze, they tried to jump and just left spaces all over the shop. Against Arsenal, away from home, they parked the bus. You know, I think our game against Wolves at Old Trafford at the end of the month will be quite different because I think they will sit deeper away from home and they might have sort of learned their lesson of getting smashed by us last week. So it's going to be interesting to see how we approach that game. But of course, that's still a couple of weeks away for now. Mount is intelligent. He can create chemistry with everyone. Exactly that. Exactly that. Mason Mount is a player that you want in your squad. You want in your squad. And I said this in the video the other day. I think at times we praise Mount, but we sort of almost don't give him enough credit. We go, he's hardworking, he's selfless, he's great for the system, he presses, his technical level's good, he brings other people in, he links with everyone, sure. But I think sometimes forget also that he's actually just fantastic at football. Like, his ability to score is very high level. His ability to create is very high level. His passing range is very high level. Sometimes we almost fall too much into just calling him a good squad utility player. He's actually just fantastic. He's just a great footballer. So he is amazing for Manchester United. We've got to keep him fit, of course, but he is such a good player for this club to have. I love him. I love him, to be honest. I think he's quality. Arsenal were horrendous. Oh, they were. They were. I think the rotating and questioning the Bournemouth defenders to jump will create a lot of space. Dalot has looked a lot more impressive physically, so I think he could have a stellar game. The thing with Bournemouth, we said this about Bournemouth at Wolves last week. We said Wolves aren't just going to come park the bus. Wolves will try and jump, and we found our way through that. Bournemouth are a quite unique team in the Premier League with how they set up and how they approach the game in most phases. You know, we spoke about them pressing high often in a 4-4-2 diamond. What we see from most teams in the league, though, is if your press doesn't work, most teams then sort of sit in a mid-block. And most teams' mid-blocks are zonal and quite passive, right? So a lot of teams will often retreat into a 4-4-2, and they're not parking the bus, but they're compact, and they're difficult to play through. Bournemouth don't really collapse into that. Bournemouth still sort of, even in the mid-block, they try to jump where possible. Of course, there'll be spells tonight where it's like this, inevitably. That happens in football matches. But where possible, even in these moments, Bournemouth like to try and get that jump. And it also feels to me a little bit like this is either going to really be great for United, as in they're going to be just a yard short. We're going to find that little bit of space with rotations. Sure, that'd be lovely. Maybe Bruno goes higher as Mount drops deeper. We find a spare man. Now we can play through. Loads of space. Lovely. Or it's going to be one of those days where, like, every time we get pressed, we lose the ball and it's an absolute horror show. I feel like it's going to be one or the other. I'm a little bit scared. I don't know what way it's going to go. I think if we click and get the right players in there, I think we've got a chance to hurt them. We've spoke about the runners off the ball, Bruno going off the ball, Dallo and Bumo as well. I think these guys, with others coming towards, is what can hurt them. Like, I really think there's a decent chance that we can find those gaps. Playing man-to-man in a mid-block is very dangerous. If you're in a high press, I absolutely agree. Let's go man-to-man from a Bournemouth point of view here. Let's go man-to-man. Let's be super high, super aggressive where we can. Sure. I think the second you're in a mid-block and you start to do it, it's a dangerous game to play because you can see people just dragged out of position quite easily. And I think we might be able to use that to hurt Bournemouth. I think that's where we're going to have some joy tonight, providing we've got the likes of Mbumo and Ahmad. Because I think, say Senesi, who is a fitness doubt but is expected to be fit, say he's man-marking Cunha, because someone like Cunha is willing to drop so deep, that's when you can take players out of position. And I think what you can also often see, if a mid-block is man-to-man, you can often open up midfield. Because let's say, just as an example, let's say it's man-to-man like this, right? So it's these three to these three. What you can see in a mid-block is if Mount and Bruno sort of separate, that's when you can open up those paths into the middle, and that's when you can find defeat of someone like Cunha. So I do think you can find those spaces in between the lines against Bournemouth. It's almost one of those pressing systems where you got to get it right, and it's difficult to do repeatedly over 90 minutes. I think it's a great idea. I think when it works, it's great, but you've got to be perfect. And, you know, in a football match full of humans, there's a chance they have those moments where they're not perfect. So I think this 11 would have a difficult game against Bournemouth, as anyone would. But I think this 11 has some serious potential to get chances in this game. I'm not talking about dominating. I'm not talking about having 12 XG to their 0.2. I'm not talking about that. But what I am talking about is United creating chances if we play like this. I think we've got that moment. However, we might be without these guys, which sort of takes away all of our threat, and that leaves us with a bit of a problem because we lose our top scorer at Mbumo, we lose our one dribbler Ahmad, and in Mazraoui we lose a super technical player. So there's a problem. Amorim said yesterday, as much as it's a problem, it's always an opportunity, right? The second you lose a player, it hurts. You got to figure out solutions, though. And it opens up an opportunity for someone else to play, or potentially to play in a different way, is what Ruben Amorim said. Now, when Ruben Amorim says that, play in a different way, I don't know what he means. To be honest, I don't know what he means. He might mean more direct. He might mean more central. He might mean more transitional. I don't know. He might mean slower, more dominant. Don't know. There's many different things it could mean. There are talks. Ladies and gentlemen, there are talks. There are talks of a 4-3-3. That's not the picture I wanted. That's better. Talks. There's talks of a 4-3-3. Thoughts? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen or not? Is it going to happen or not? Just talks of it. Just talks of it. There's talks of it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. But there have been talks that in training, United have been using a 4-3-3 a little bit more. The Athletic reckon that we've been sort of experimenting with it and it's considered. Now, we'll always say the formation isn't the most important thing. I'll always stand by that. What's more important than the formation is the way you play, the way that you approach the game, where you want to play, the freedom you give players, the platform, and all of that stuff, right? That's very possible. Sorry, that's not what I was trying to say. That's more important than formation, is the way that you play. But what you do get if you were to change formation, worth considering, if you do change formation, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but you do get different profiles on the pitch. Right? If you play 4-3-3, that would suggest to me you've got an extra midfielder. Right? And I think midfielders give you more freedom tactically. I've said that many times. I think an extra midfielder can do a little bit more, can play in more different systems, can play in more different ways. Ultimately, I love Luke Shaw. Sure, he's a great player. But if you just take a back five that we've seen at times, where is he? In the past, we've seen this back five. If you were to take any single one of those out for Cobby or any midfielder, Mount, whoever, you expect United to have more freedom to rotate because a midfielder is more flexible than any of those guys. So that's the potential you open up with a 4-3-3. And I was actually going to come into this stream and say, any good manager right now... Okay, not any good manager, that's harsh. Any manager open to new ideas would be looking at a back four currently. And that's not because a back four formation is better than a 3-4-3. You might think it is. You might think it's not. That's okay. That's not a conversation. But you just got to look at what's about to line up with United. No Mazraoui, not going to be here. No Mbumo, not going to be here. No Ahmad, not going to be here. We don't have players to fit the system. We don't have wing-backs. So is it time to change? Now, I don't want to spend too long on this. I might do a video on it now I've heard it. I don't want to spend too long on this. Just let me quickly run through like a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, which in theory could potentially work. And then we'll go back to the 3-4-3 and discuss an 11 with the guys that we might be missing, okay? But just hear me out for a moment. A back four you could go for if you wanted to. Heaven and Yoro would feel very young, so maybe he throws Alessandro Martinez in. Sure, Dallo. Again, just hear me out for a second. I'm not actually expecting this, I don't think, but just hear me out. If you want to go 4-3-3, you go Casemiro 6. You'd probably go Sesko when he's fit up front, but for now, Joshua Zirkzee. And you probably, for now, without Mbumo and Ahmad, have to do something a little bit weird, where a Mount or a Bruno plays out wide. Not unheard of. We've seen Christian Eriksen used to play left wing for Spurs a lot. Obviously a long time ago, but, midfielders can occasionally play wide. Gavi did it for Barcelona quite a lot as well. This feels a bit closer to maybe having players more suited in their positions. Would you go high fullbacks? And, if this was to work... Right, if this was to work, then when we get people coming back, Mbumo is your right wing, Sesko's your striker, Cunha's your left 10, Shaw's overlapping. Like, it kind of works for United. I think it gives us a lot more freedom of what we can do. I think we can build in a back three still if Amorim wants to do that. We could swing that way. Dallo and Alessandro Martinez on the outside of a 3 feels nice. This can be De Ligt as well. That absolutely works. But I think in terms of unpredictability, it allows you to switch up more as well. Because in the next moment, Dallo can fly forward in a way that a centre-back wouldn't. And you can switch to a back 3 that way. And Cunha can go and play wide. You can get Casemiro and Cobby into midfield if you want. You can have Cobby goes higher and Bruno comes in. You can change more. So... I'm not saying a 4-3-3 fixes things. I am not saying that at all. Of course, it's so much more complicated than just your formation. But I do think even in just those couple of rotations that we spoke about there, you can see how it could maybe open up more. That's a great point. You could see Dallo inverting into midfield. Dallo could go inside and Cobby and Bruno could both play as 10s. Now, if you look at the profiles that you end up with on the attack and line after the AFCON Cup of Nations, That's great front 5. That's incredible. That's incredible. Like, there's so many different things that you could do. I like the idea. This is why I personally do prefer a back four over a back three because I think it gets you an extra midfielder and I think it just gives you a bit more flexibility. And you guys know me. I think tactical flexibility is such a huge part of football to be as unpredictable as possible, right? Like, that's the ultimate aim. If you're unpredictable, it's difficult for the opposition to set up and prepare to play against you. So that's why I always prefer a back four. But got to remember, it wouldn't fix everything, though. Yeah, Dallow's very good at inverting as well. I mean, Mazraoui, again, after the African Cup of Nations, is very good at inverting. Very good at inverting. He's technical enough to go and play it now. I mean, he played as a 10 previously, so he could go and do that job. Of course, for now, with players missing, it's not so amazing, because if you look at the front three that we end up with, we're lacking pace. We're really lacking pace, which would be a concern. I mean, hey, if we really want to talk United DNA, I know he's not a defender, doesn't matter. If you really wanted to talk United DNA, with certain players missing for a bit, you could do it. You could if you wanted to. Just for a couple of weeks, maybe you could do it. Get that academy boy and give him his chance on the right side. Plenty of experience around him. Maybe. I think Sesko, yeah, would be someone that would be very useful if we were to shape up like this, particularly with some of the guys we're missing. Even if it's 3-4-3. Sesko being back is something we need. Without Mbumo, we lose a runner. We lose someone stretching in behind. So we need Sesko back ASAP. Whether it's a 4-3-3, a 4-4-2, a 3-4-3, a 7-13-4, I don't care what formation is. You need players that can stretch, and we're missing that without Mbumo. So we could do with Sesko back ASAP, whatever the formation. But yeah, I just think this is a fun idea, and I do think after the African Cup of Nations, if we were to talk about it, like, it's not a bad team like that. We often try and figure out, how good is the United 11? How good is the squad? I think that's a very good team. I think that's a very, very good team. Capable of playing very well, like a seriously high level. I think it gets more out of several of our players. So it's something to consider. Maybe a video coming on that. Anyway, how on earth we need to figure out our 11 if we don't have Mbumo, if we don't have Mazraoui, and we were to stick with the back three. What do we think? Let's come back to reality. 3-4-3. No Mazraoui, no Mbumo, no Ahmad. And then we might finish with just a no Mazraoui, because he's the most likely to not be available. What are we thinking? Let's assume Sesko's probably not fit to start tonight. Probably not. Probably from the bench, perhaps. He's been injured and then ill. Ahmad, Mbumo, Mazraoui not available for this particular team. How do we shape up? Is it Dallo and Dorgo at wing back, do we think? Is that where we would go? Oh wait, we had Heaven in this team. See, would he go Heaven and Yoro together? I don't know if he would. Has it been confirmed if we have AFCON players? No. Basically, the club are keeping it top secret, as they should. It makes it difficult for Bournemouth to prepare. We don't know, though. So it's a little bit tricky for us to figure out. He's not played Yoro and Heaven from the start together yet. And see, this is where I don't blame the manager. There's, so much talk about, a United manager should be playing youngsters, should be giving them their opportunity. That's what the club's about, and I agree. But I also think we've got to be sensible as well. In the back line, we don't need to see a load of 14-year-old defenders. So experience is good in the back line. Leadership and things like that are required. So I'm not surprised these two haven't played before. Of course, we are in a position now, though, where our hand might be forced a little bit. Because let's say Mazraoui's not available. De Ligt's injured. Maguire's injured. Is Lisandro Martinez ready to play? If he's not, we can only play those three. If Lisandro Martinez isn't ready, that's our back three tonight, if we were a back three. Could you drop Dallo in? Possibly. But then we'd be very short at wing back. I think it might be that 3 tonight. I think Yoro gets a start tonight. This is if Mazraoui and Nose can't play. And I would say that's sort of the conversation between those two. Which is nice in terms of ball playing ability. We like that. There's a lot of quality on the ball there. Lovely. Yeah, he could play Dalot right centre-back. That is just what I sort of mentioned. I just think, I don't know who would be next in line at wing-back. Unless this is where you would then see Mount playing a weird wing-back role. Because I'm just looking off to the side at the squad. And I don't see who would come in there. Because I don't think he's going to play... I don't think he's going to play like a Manzato there. I don't think he'd do it. I have seen the 4-3-3 news. I have. There might be a video this afternoon. There might. But is it worth doing a video this afternoon when we play at 8? I feel like that video just blocks this one. So I'm not sure. I'll have a read through the article, see what's been released and go from there. See, I wouldn't mind the idea of Dalot wing back. I just think it gives us... Dalot centre back. But I just think it removes wing back options. Are we looking at no Ahmad, no Mbeumo, no Mazraoui in a 3-4-3, let's assume? Are we looking at that as our team? Is that what we've got here? I'll still go with Heaven. I liked his performance. Yeah, I think that's fair. And we do need to look after Lisandro Martinez as well. It's a young team, which, you know, also makes sense with fullbacks at wing-back a little bit. I'm not here and I'll be honest. Oh, sorry, I'm new here and I'll be honest. It's been a good watch. What days do you go live? Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a little bit inconsistent at the moment. Normally, I would go live at this time, 11 a.m. on a Tuesday and a Friday. But because of the weird kickoffs for United, it's been a little bit different. So, honestly, my advice to you, if you do want to watch these, is, and this isn't me just plugging, like, subscribe with notifications. So when I do go live, you will get told. That's not just me trying to get more subscribers. But yeah, if you turn your notifications on, you'll get a notification when I go live. It's always 11 a.m. UK time, but the day tends to change. So this week it'll be Friday. Next week it will be Tuesday, and I'm not sure actually next week. Yeah, to be honest, if you want to know, join a Discord server, which is linked in the description of this stream. And yeah, get your notifications on for the channel. That's probably the best way to find out, to be honest. Because it's a little bit inconsistent at the moment. It's a little bit inconsistent. Anyway, is this what we end up with tonight if we don't have Ahmad and Mbeumo and Mazraoui? The other things we could do is Sesko if he's fit, but I don't think he'd start tonight. And then there's Kobe and Ugarte are the other two, but there's not an obvious slot in the team for them here to make us more attacking. Like, you could put Kobe into midfield, sure, and bump Bruno higher. That doesn't really solve a problem because we've still got the fullbacks at wing back. So I think if we don't have Mazraoui and Mbeumo, Ahmad, I think it might be this tonight. Thoughts. There's a problem, guys. There's a problem. The 4-3-3 has been said and I now can't get it out of my head, and it's just like in the back of my head going 4-3-3, 4-3-3, we should do this, and I can't get rid of it. Alex, thank you very much. David, I think you did it earlier as well and I just forgot to pin it, but thank you very much for helping. Linked at the top of the chat, guys, is the Discord server that I was just mentioning. Like I said, that's a pretty good place to find out if I'm streaming or not. And, even there, sometimes I'll forget. But the Discord place is a really good place to be. It's, in my opinion, the best United community. And I know every channel says that. Of course, you have to say, I've got the best community to make you guys go, woo. But I actually do believe it. I think the talks that we have, of course, there are a couple that go a little bit left and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? That's a rogue take. But generally speaking, I think our Discord's very good for largely level-headed Manchester United conversations. we're all emotional, we're all fans, so there are moments where it strays. But in general, if you want all the football news of Twitter without the toxicity of it, and mainstream and just social media in general, get yourself to the Discord server, because that's where you can talk about United without being attacked for every opinion that you have, without hearing just utter dross and agendas left, right and centre. It's a really good place to talk to people who have a similar mindset with regards to United. Of course, different opinions, which is fun. That makes for good conversations. But it's good. It's good. Largely, definitely largely right, because I don't think there's a community in the world which is completely sane. We're United fans. We have to go a little bit insane here and there. We get a little bit emotional after a loss, perhaps, or get a little bit excited when Cunha whacks one in top bins tonight. Of course we stray away a little bit, but yeah, it's sort of, it's like taking the good parts of social media without all the bad parts. That's what I'd say our server is. So yeah, and we got Sun. Like, Sun is a great selling point for our server. Sun is a legend. If you want United news, Discord is where I get my news from now, because Sun is one of our mods and is so good with news, like the quickest I've ever seen. So yeah, it's a good place for that as well. We can't lose to 10 men Everton at home and be mentally sane. Exactly that. Trolls have feelings too. Indeed, and I agree. Manu and Valza should be banned. I'm all for that. Actually, just Manu. I like Valza. Bruno brace tonight and Cunha goal. 3-1 win. It's written in the stars. Shall we do some score predictions? Shall we do them? Because I wasn't supposed to be doing a video today, but there might be a 4-3-3 one. I need to go and take a look at what's going on and figure something out up here. So, score predictions. It's up to you how you want to do this. You can predict with Mazraoui, without Mazraoui. With Mazraoui, Ahmad and Bumo, without them all. Up to you. 4-3-3, 3-4-3, whatever. You can chide. You can chide? What does that even mean? I think that was you can choose combined with you can decide. You can decide. Your score prediction for tonight. There are still tickets for the game tonight. PTSD is still strong. Wait, we saw earlier. 2 Decembers in a row. We've lost 3-0 at home to Bournemouth. So I don't blame them. Manu slander will always be accepted by me and led by me. Don't you worry about that. Now, I think I'm allowed to do predictions at the moment, right? Because I predicted last week and we won. So I think I'm allowed to do predictions. I just want to check that I have permission from you guys before I do that, though. Let's have a read through some of yours. Mount and Cunha to score, 3-1 United. Love that. Clean sheet, 4-0. That would be huge. To me, this feels a bit like the Brighton one, right? Where I want to win every game. Yeah, makes sense. There's certain games, though, where it's just like, this club has just beat us a few too many times recently. And they're always so arrogant with the way that they do it as well. They always rock up to Old Trafford like it's easy, win 3-0 and then leave again. I want to beat Bournemouth. It's like Brighton the other month. I want to beat them. I really want to beat them. So, yeah. Give us a win tonight. Would it be nice to score at Old Trafford versus Bournemouth? That's the spirit. That's where the bar is at. I love it. Sorry if you heard that. Bournemouth is a bogey side and a banana skin. Absolutely. A good team. Just a good team. Sun does does an amazing job of keeping us up to date. She does. She's a legend. Absolute legend. I'm predicting a 3-0 loss to Bournemouth and 3-2 win versus Villa. That would sort of make sense in terms of the roller coaster that we are on at this football club. 1-1. I'm feeling it's going to be a close 2-0 to United, I hope. Steve says 3-1 United with 2 from Bruno. A Bruno brace would be amazing for my FPL. Lovely. And a Cunha goal as well. 3-0. Cunha, Mount, Cobby. I like those goal scorers. Alex says with Mazraoui a 2-1 win, goals from Cunha and Bruno. Without Mazraoui a 1-1 draw with a goal from Mount. I like that. I hope Dallow's on the bench, question mark. I'm very confident he starts tonight. 5-2 win, says Callum. He's gone big. Bruno, Yoro, Cunha. 5-2. I mean, I'm here for it. First time I'm confused what formations to pick and players. We love a bit of confusion around here. We love it. AJ, prediction ban is lifted for the moment. Thank you. 3-1 United. That's right. 3-1 Manchester United. Goal scorers being Semenyo. Then he signs for United on January 2nd. Delusion, ladies and gentlemen. The 3 goal scorers for United being... If we've got them... Mbumo scores. So does Ahmad. It's a nice little send-off for him. And so does Bruno for my FPL. Thanks, guys. If we don't have Ahmad and Mbumo Mazraoui, then we still win 3-1 because we're so good at football. Bruno scores. Of course he does. He's Bruno Fernandes. Xerxes scores. And I think Mason Mount scores. 3-1 win, Manchester United. Assuming Mbumo is available, which 3 do you pick out of Xerxes, Mount, Cunha and Mbumo? I missed that. Yeah, I don't think I covered it, actually. Which 3 do you pick out? Xerxes, Mount, Cunha and Mbumo. I'm probably taking Xerxes out. I'm not a fan of Cunha up front. I don't think it's his best position. But I just love Mount on the left. Mbumo, obviously, on the right. And I just prefer Cunha to Xerxes. I don't love Cunha as a striker. I'd rather he's over there. But I think if I got to pick between Cunha and Xerxes, I'm going Cunha 9 times out of 10. I just think he's the better, more dangerous player. So yeah. The thing is, people need to remember United weren't that great playing the 4-3-3 before Amorim. If he chooses to go that road, don't expect miracles. Ten Hag tried it and failed due to the midfield balance. Absolutely. This is something that we have to point out, and I really want to make that clear before we wrap up. Because there are going to be conversations about the 4-3-3 because it is being spoken about today. And a lot of people have asked for it for a long time. Formations are not football. Like, they're not the be-all and end-all of football. It's so much more advanced than that. A manager's tactics isn't just his formation. Sure, it's a starting point, it's a foundation, it's your beginning shape. But, you know, we know that Amorim's 3-4-3 can convert to a back 4 sometimes when we press, sometimes when we build up. So, changing formation doesn't fix everything. We need to make that very clear. What's more important is your ideas, the way you want to play, how will you play, all of that stuff. Player performance, getting players into their best positions, into the best zones, giving them the right environment. All of those things are more important than the shape, literally. I do think that starting shape, the 4-3-3, accommodates more of our players. I think it suits more of our players. I think it suits our fullbacks much better. It gives us an extra midfielder, which I think helps Casemiro and Kobe, and allows Bruno to play higher. But there's also some players who it doesn't help so much. Cunha, for example, on the left wing, probably doesn't feel as comfortable out there. I think a 4-3-3 gives us a simpler, more basic platform, which I think is needed at United. I think that's what's required. But we also, as Alex said, you know, there was midfield issues with the balance under Ten Hag. Some of that was because of Ten Hag, some of that was because of the system, some of that was because of the players. If we play a 3-4-3 for the next 10 years, if we play a 4-3-3 for the next 10 years, we need signings still, right? You know, a change of formation doesn't fix our squad. We know that we need a midfielder. You know, Casemiro has been amazing, but can only give us so much. And we know that we want a more true left winger, an Ahmad to the left side. So, change of formation, whatever, doesn't fix United. I think it gives us an opportunity to build in a different direction, which is the direction I prefer, but it's not guaranteed success because it's football. And at the end of the day, it's 11 humans on a football pitch, all very capable of making a mistake and also doing incredible things. So, formation doesn't solve everything, but it is a nice starting point, in my opinion. Perfect in there. Fan. We need a win regardless of formation. Exactly. Exactly that. It's a chance to go into the top 5 tonight. I think United are going to win. I don't think we'll win 9-0 to go into the top 4. I think that's tough. I think that's quite unlikely. But I think we can win tonight to go into the top 5. And, you know, if you said to me at the start of the season, we would be 5th after 16 game weeks, I'd have said, good, that's where we should be. That's where I want us to be. We said at the start of the season, top 4, top 5, top 6 is the aim for this club. So to be there approaching halfway is lovely. That's where we want to be. We would be on track. Of course, there's talks about longevity, style and stuff, but it is a results business. And looking at it as simply as points tally, we'd be where we want to be. So that's a good sign. That's a good start. Hopefully, we get that result. I'm quite confident. Like I said, I think we win 3-1. Because I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. I think Bournemouth have got too much threat. But I also just think we'll find ways through that Bournemouth team So I'm going 3-1 Manchester United. In terms of content coming up, there might be a video today looking at a 4-3-3. We'll see what's actually been said today. I'll sort of try and interpret whether I think it's at all likely, whether people would want to watch it, and how it would set up and how it would work, and whether I can get that video before 8 o'clock tonight. If not, it's ruined by United playing anyway. So that will be potentially later. Tomorrow morning, we'll have a video breaking down this game. Hopefully, I'm aiming for 10 a.m. upload, roughly. Might be slightly before, might be slightly after, but that's the rough time we'll look for United winning this game. And then videos for the rest of the week, and a live stream on Friday talking about Villa, who United play on Sunday. So that is the plan. Plenty of content coming the rest of the year. The only days I intend to miss are days that United literally play, because that sort of blocks the video, and Christmas Day, Boxing Day. They're the only days I plan on not uploading. So there's plenty of content coming over the next few weeks. But yeah, that is all for today, I believe. I think we have finished. So I need to say a massive thank you, because there have been so many gifted memberships in the chat today and in the last stream as well. So many. So thank you guys very much. We had some super chats as well. You guys are legends. And we also had plenty of people smashing the like button. A few more before we wrap up would be nice. We had people subscribing, getting their notifications on. And I think we had a few new members join the Discord server as well. So thank you all very much. Thank you for your vibe, your spirit, as always. I do appreciate it. As I always say, you guys carry the hell out of these streams. So keep it up. Keep up the good work. And yeah, thank you. I will see you very, very soon. Hopefully talking about how United beat Bournemouth, climbed